What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Barney Homestead. My name is Jess Barney, and I am so excited to bring you the July garden tour today. It is currently July 21st, and the garden is in full swing. Full blooms, fruit production everywhere. I can't wait to show you. If you're new to my channel, welcome. A little bit about me as a grower and where I grow. I've been gardening for a little over 5 years. I grow in the suburbs of the city of Chicago. I'm in zone 5B, and my garden is primarily raised garden beds. I have an herb garden on my patio, and then I also have a small herb and flower perennial garden that I am looking to establish as well. I will update you on all of those spaces today, so let's get right into it. So as always, we will start with this first row of 3 4x4 beds. Let's take a peek at what's growing. Our first bed here is still pretty empty. I have a Gomphrena on the corner, a beautiful Swiss chard, and then one of my sunflowers that'll grow to about, 5 to 6 feet tall. Potatoes here are looking good. They just flowered, so I probably have about another month and a half before they start to die back and I can harvest. This bed here is all of my pepper plants, and I'm in a little bit of a conundrum with what to do about this bed. So about a month or so ago, I started noticing that a lot of the peppers, pretty much all of them, were looking really sickly. The leaves started developing these brown spots. They would turn yellow, and then they would just kind of fall off. The flowers, the flower buds were falling off. They weren't producing fruit. I thought I had a disease throughout the entire pepper bed. Now, I very well could have a disease throughout the bed, but I decided to leave them in to see what happens. And to be honest, I'm kind of still torn with whether or not I want to leave these in or pull them and replant it with something. I really don't want to lose all of my peppers this year, which is why they're still in here. But I've noticed that the longer I've left them in, they seem to be recovering. The new growth looks much better. The flowers are starting to stay on, and I am getting fruit. So I wonder if maybe it wasn't disease, but the plants were just really stressed from the heat we were having, the lack of water, and to be quite honest, maybe I was overwatering them. So I do think I'm actually going to leave them in for a few more days to see what happens now that I have some flowers, to see if the flowers will produce some fruits. If they don't, I've got about a week span left where I have time to pull these out and replant something. But I think for now, I'm going to leave them. If you have an opinion on this, I would love to hear it. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think I should do? But again, I think the plants are starting to look better. So this is some of that strange browning and yellowing that I'm getting pretty much all over the plants. Like you can see, this one looks absolutely horrible, but the new growth that's on the top looks better. And I, again, am starting to get some fruits. I'm more worried that the disease is going to spread to other things in the garden. So I'm just kind of monitoring it. Truthfully though, I know myself, and I think I will probably leave the peppers in just because I've never had this happen before. And so I am just curious to see if the plants will survive or if they won't survive and not produce anything. I kind of want to leave them just to chalk it up to see, what will happen and learn from it. I have a yellow squash that hasn't produced yet, but the green squash is looking really good. And then these are my queen lime zinnias. Just beautiful. You can see I do have some Japanese beetle damage. That is the main pest that I get in the garden in the summer. All right, next we'll talk about this second row of 4x8 beds, and I'll show you what's inside those. So this first one here is starting to fill in again. In the back here, I have my Tuscan kale, which I planted this spring, that is still doing amazing. I'm really impressed with this. It really doesn't go to seed easily. I think I'll be able to carry this all the way through the fall and not have to replant. I have 2 tomato plants here that I purchased from the store. I planted some more squash here, a second succession. Those are doing pretty well. I have another sunflower that'll get about 5 to 6 feet. I have some purple kohlrabi that I started from seed and just wanted to experiment to see if I could plant this in the summer. They have taken really well since transplanting. And then I have more gomphrena here. This is such a cool flower. They look like tiny little fireworks. This bed here is exploding. So this is my tomato and tomatillo bed, and then I simply have some basil and marigolds throughout the bottom. So this marigold here, I don't even know the kind, honestly. I got the seed packet from either Home Depot or Lowe's or like Ace Hardware, but I plant them every year. This is one seed. This plant will continue to grow and it gets about 4 to 5 feet wide. And the blooms are prolific. They look like they're laced in gold. Here I have my 2 cherry tomato plants. This is my Sun Gold, and then this is Super Sweet 100. I have started to harvest, and they continue to do really well. I cannot believe the fruit stems that are on these plants. Look at this. So this one goes all the way here, all the way down to here. And then same thing with these Super Sweet 100s. The fruit stems are massive. Put this one back here. It looks like I've got a red one. So let's talk about the star of this bed for a second, which are the tomatillos. I probably have 150 to 200 fruits on these 3 plants. I am going to be drowning in tomatillos very soon. But look at how many fruits are all over these plants. Oh my gosh, I think my first ripe one. This is the first ripe one. You want to pick it when the husk breaks open. I grew a tomatillo. This is super exciting. On this side of the bed, I have my San Marzano tomatoes. Oh, you can see here's a tomatillo poking through. I'm going to try to put him back on this side. But again, these are my San Marzanos. I have some really nice clusters of fruit. Nothing has started to ripen yet, but some pretty nice fruit clusters. And then this last bed on this side has my onions. My red onions are pretty much at the end of their lifespan. You can see when they start to flap over like this, that's your cue that they are finished. So I will probably be pulling these this weekend and letting them cure. But the white onions are still doing really well. The white ones I started from seed. The red ones I started from little bulb starts. I have said this in the past, but I'll say it again. I think I will always start from seed moving forward. But these onions look really, really good. Okay, now we have the most exciting section of the garden, and it is this back row of 4x8 beds. It is my secret garden area. It is the area that I planned for in the garden when I do my sketches in the spring and what I want the garden to look like spring, summer, and fall. And I have to tell you, it is better than even my wildest imagination. It is beautiful. So let's take a peek. So this first bed here has some odds and ends in it. The soil in this bed is not great. This is a new bed this year and I'm having some soil issues. So everything is very stunted, but I am getting some things. So I actually planted these leeks about 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half, just to kind of see what would happen in the summer. And they seem like they are starting, now that the temperatures are cooling off a little, we're not quite as humid, they're starting to really grow. So I'm excited for those. The kohlrabi that I purchased for 50 cents and planted looks amazing. I just harvested 2 of them the other day and I'm making some pickled kohlrabi. My 3 okra plants, again, extremely stunted because of the soil in here, but are now just starting to get established and maybe I will get some. And then here I have cucumbers and this is cantaloupe. Again, very stunted and not getting a lot of growth. Don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. And then these cucumbers as well. I do have some little fruits on them, some flowers. But honestly, it looks pretty sad. I've got this same cucumber right over there, which I'll show you when we get there and you can see the difference. So make a mental note of what this one looks like now. A nasturtium here that is just beautiful. Swinging around to this side, I've got another nasturtium in the corner here. I have 2 Benary giant zinnia. This one you can see here is this incredible magenta color. And then the one that's inside here are these beautiful yellow blooms. So they're finding a way to bloom even through all of the madness. I have my pickling cucumber plant here, which has been slow to start, but now it's really starting to pick up growth. I've got 2 more nasturtiums on the corner here. I am not a fan of nasturtium. I really don't like the flavor. It's probably the one thing I've grown in my entire life that I just refuse to consume. But I've heard that there are amazing trap crops for your squash and cucumber plants and pests that tend to damage those. And I will say, since planting them around that, I have noticed much less pest pressure. So if you are someone who doesn't believe that things like that work, I get it. I was kind of skeptical too, but I think it actually does. And I'm really pleased with them. So I really like the pops of color that they bring, and I will continue to plant them moving forward. This pot here just has a bachelor button that is still blooming. Again, something I think I will always add to the garden. This color is amazing. And some more gomphrena around the bottom. And then the showstopper. The arch is completely covered. And with all of these flowers here, it just looks stunning. So on this side, I have my spaghetti squash. This is huge. So I have put slings on most of them to give them some extra support, tying them to the trellis so they don't weigh the trellis down. And then on this side, it was slow to start, but now it is moving right along. I've got my honey nut butternut squash that is starting to fruit like crazy as well, and is making its way up the trellis. There is just something so magical about this part of the garden. I find myself, when I get to this part of the garden, just standing and listening and really just being. I don't know, you probably can't hear it behind me, but the amount of bees and pollinators that are in this section of the garden, just hearing them buzzing is absolutely incredible. And my dream was to have this arch full. I had arches last year, but they weren't quite covered. This year, this one is covered. And it just looks amazing with all the flowers around it. On the corner of this bed, I have, these are El Dorado zinnias. I think these are my showstoppers this year. I mean, the size of this, it's the size of my palm. This coral color. I mean, it's just beautiful. Look at these blooms. And then here in the back, finally, I've got my eggplants and just a dill that I am letting go crazy and wild. So the eggplants have flowered. You can see I've got a little baby eggplant right in there. And then this one is flowering as well. But those are looking really healthy. And the dill is just really, it's really just fun. Oh, and then I've got a huge sunflower back here in this corner. And more gomphrena. So let's head over to the patio garden. Mostly herbs. I forgot I have my beans back here in my green stalk, so I'll show you what's going on. So here's my green stalk. It is filled with bush beans. Some of the plants do not look good, and you know what I've learned from this is bush beans are great to grow in here. I have gotten over 2-gallon Ziploc bags full of beans already, but in the heat of the summer here, these plants are just getting scorched. So I may pull a couple of these out and replant because I have enough time for a second succession. But overall, really pleased with this. These dragon tongue bush beans are so, oh, can I get it in the shade? So pretty. And they taste really, really good. I kind of rearranged a little bit. So here again, just some herbs that are growing, some basil, catnip, lemon balm, dill, rosemary, parsley. So that's kind of what's here. My cats absolutely go crazy for this fresh catnip. I love it. These are new pots that I picked up at the thrift store. And I just have some celosia in them. I don't remember what these white ones are, but just some celosia, some other flowers, and just kind of some, you know, vining accents. And then I spaced it out a little bit, and I've got some more herbs and stuff here. So I have my 2 mints here, some more dill that is clearly planted too close together. I have some thyme, some oregano, which I need to harvest again now that it's flowering more and dry it. And then some planters that my sister and I made at a community garden event. And then I have another calendula in the pot here. This sunflower is actually a seed that grew from the bird feed. And it bloomed, and I can't believe it, but it's actually so pretty. And then this right here is my cucumber. So if you remember earlier in the video, I said, remember what that one looked like on the trellis and how small those leaves were? The leaves were maybe the size of my, you know, fingers. Look at these leaves. This one is doing much better. So again, I know it's the soil in those other beds, but this one's doing really well, and it's just gonna grow, and it'll grow over the edge of this railing and be really pretty. I have another herb pot here and then here I've got another type of oregano, thyme, parsley, and dill as well. And this one is going to start flowering soon, so I need to start harvesting that. Tip for you, if you are going to harvest and dry your oregano, the flavor is always going to be best right before or as it starts to flower. So when you start to see those flowers forming, that's when you want to harvest and start drying for best flavor. All right, so last stop is the perennial herb and flower garden that I am attempting to establish. It looks really good. I'm excited to show you. All right, let's take a peek. So this back section I just sprinkled with flower seeds that I had, mostly a mix of different zinnias and cosmos. And look at the fun colors I have. I've got a yellow, I've got a white, I've got this pink, I've got this beautiful deep red cosmo. I have some more queen lime zinnias. I have some more Eldorados here. It's just so pretty. My salvia that I planted is doing amazing. My sage plant here, oh my gosh, this thing is turning into its own little shrub. This is about to bloom. This is anise hyssop. It is a medicinal herb. More oregano. I've got some chives sprinkled throughout, another salvia and anise. And then here is another 2 salvia plants as well. And then I have lavender right here and right here. And then I've got another big marigold right in the corner here. So this space is looking really good. And the flowers in the back are just so pretty. that is gonna do it for this July garden tour. Thanks so much for watching and coming along with me. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I wish that I could bring all of you here in person with me, but this is, to me, one of the best parts of gardening. Seeing the garden evolve month over month and just seeing the literal fruits of your efforts coming to fruition. So not just from an aesthetic beauty perspective, but really a production perspective. Some of the things are not doing great, but other things are doing so well. So I will take the wins wherever I can get them. I am just starting some of my fall plantings in the next week or so I can't wait to show you what's happening come August. If you've got any questions about anything you've seen in the video, leave those questions for me down in the comments below. And again, thanks so much for coming along with me. I wish you well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.